Hello everyone. Today in this lecture I'll discuss about the introduction part of innate immunity. So let's start. Innate immunity is basically it is the inborn ability of an organism to protect itself from the external pathogen. As we all know that we in this era we encounter a number of microbes in our day-to-day life, but only we do not infected by these organisms just because of this innate immunity. So innate immunity, it includes the barriers defense. It means it act as a barrier which do not allow the pathogen to enter into the organism body. So innate immunity includes barrier defense, molecular recognition, which depend on a small set of receptor protein. What are receptor proteins? Receptor proteins are the proteins which present on the body to detect. It act as a protein recognition receptor which present in the in body to attract or identify the protein present in the body for the recognition of the infectious agent. So these are the set of very few receptor proteins are present in innate immunity. Receptor proteins, these proteins bind to the molecules which present only in the infectious agents like bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc. But these receptor proteins do not bind to the on self body cells. These binding of receptor cells on foreign bodies activates the internal defense mechanism, that is the immune system. So it act as a serve. It means the innate immunity serve as both intermediate defense mechanism against infectious agent, and it also act as a foundation for the adaptive immune system, because we know that when a pathogen encounter in our body, the first mechanism that work upon it, that is innate immunity. When this innate immunity cells are not able to phagocyte the cells or infectious agent, then they recruit adaptive immune system. That's why it is written here that it act as a foundation for the adaptive immune response. Next point is these types of immunity present in both invertebrate and vertebrate. Okay, the cells in these immune response are dedicated to detection. It means they will detect is there any infectious agent present, then they will devouring and destroy them. These are the three basic steps by which they can encounter. So next slide, we are in the figure we are able to see that the innate immunity is present in all cells. These are the recognition of traits shared by the broad range of pathogen using a set of receptor. Okay, the barrier defense includes skin, mucous membrane, and secretion. Okay, it is innate immunity is basically a rapid response to the organism for the infectious agent, and the internal defenses like phagocytosis cell, natural killer cell, antimicrobial proteins, and the inflammatory responses. This will be discussed in next slides. So innate immunity of invertebrate, because we have already discussed there is an innate immunity present in both, either in vertebrate or invertebrate. So firstly we'll discuss about the innate immunity of invertebrate, and then we'll discuss vertebrate. Okay, so in insect, because insect is an invertebrate example. Okay, in insect for any environment, because they live in a varieties of environment like aquatic, terrestrial, or sometimes they have various environment they can habitat or they live. So they rely on their exoskeleton, because their exoskeleton is made up of chitin. So these exoskeleton is act as a physical barrier against infection. But additional to that, they are having exoskeleton, they have chitin line is chitin which is present on the lines of the insect in intestine, which they block infection by the many pathogen which present in the stomach of the intestine. Lysozymes are also present that break down the bacterial cell and the protect insect digestive system. There are various ways by which innate immunity of invertebrate takes place, that is barrier defense, second is phagocytosis, and third is antimicrobial proteins. These we'll discuss in further slides. So let's start with the innate immunity of vertebrate. I just hope that all of you have aware with the vertebrate. Okay, so first mechanism that vertebrate takes encounter to the pathogens. First is barrier defense. It means in mammals there is a barrier which do not allow the pathogen to enter into the organism body. So that is written, they block the entry of pathogen. Second point is it include mucous membrane and skin. Barrier defense includes mucous membrane and skin. Mucous membrane lines present in digestive, respiratory, urinary, reproductive tract. These are the place where the mucous membrane is present. It produce mucus. Mucus is a viscous fluid. It means do not like a sticky fluid that trap pathogen and other particles which invaded in our body for the hope for the pathogenesis. Okay, saliva, tears and mucus secretion have lysozymes that provide washing action, inhibit colonization of fungi and bacteria, and destroy the cell wall of bacteria. These are the functions which performed by the saliva, tears or the mucus secretion. Okay, so the pathogen in food that we are getting, food or water, they are also containing pathogens, but to encounter them, there is acidic pH in our stomach which enable to kill that pathogens. So next phase is in innate immunity is cellular innate defense. That is the defense mechanism of the innate cell by the cellular level, that is the phagocytosis. So immune cell depends on the toll-like receptor. Toll-like receptor is the receptor which relays or depend on the activation of the signals. It basically produce signals that initiate response. Here the response means immune response. Okay, each toll-like receptor protein have a characteristic to bind to the specific pathogen. It means that if a TLR1 is attached to the specific A bacteria, then the TLR1 is not able to detect or the pathogen B. Okay, in third line it is written. Example like toll-like receptor 3, which is present in the inner surface of the vesicles. It's formed by endocytosis. Where the endocytosis take place, these the TLR3 receptors are present to carry out the function of the endocytosis. Second is TLR4 that locate on plasma membrane, which recognize the polysaccharide molecules present in many bacteria. It means they are present above the cell. When the other pathogens or a bacteria or molecule having polysaccharides material outside its surface, then they are TLR4 are able to recognize and then they perform its function. Then TLR TLR5 recognize flagellin, the main protein of the bacterial flagella, because it is not compulsory that the infectious agent we are encountering do not contain flagella or something different types of there are various types of pathogen which encounter in our body. So we have developed many ways in our bodies that we can encounter to that cells or bacteria. In this figure we can see that the extracellular fluid that is outside the cell, there is a first in TLR4 where the molecule is present and liposaccharide is present. That's why they enable to the initiate the innate immune response. Second is the TLR5 that detect the flagellin protein, which is the main component of the flagella, and flagella is basically present in the bacteria for the movement of the bacteria. So the third is phagocytosis cell. There are the cells, various cells which whose function is to phagocyte the cells or the invading bodies which affect the human body or any host. Okay, so the first, there are two main phagocytosis cell are neutrophils, and which characteristic are given, like it circulate in blood, it attracted by the signal from the infected tissue. It means something infection takes place in our body, then there is a infection release some signals, which these signals are attract, and those signals attract this neutrophil cells, and after attraction of these infection toward the infection cell, then they engulf and destroy the infecting pathogens. Okay, second types of cell that perform phagocytosis are macrophage. These are the macro means bigger and phages means eater. These are known as big eaters. Okay, and these are the large phagocytic cell. Some migrate through the body. Some cells of the macrophages are migrate through throughout the body, while some other resides permanent in organs like spleen. And not only these two cells are involved in phagocytosis, there are other types of cells like dendritic cells. Dendritic cells are the populated populated tissue like skin. Okay, they stimulate adaptive immunity. They encounter the infectious agent and engulf shortly. Second is eosinophils cells. This found in tissue underlying epithelial layer of the body. Okay, and these defenders for the multicellular pathogens like worm. They discharge destructive enzyme which engulf or destroy the pathogens. Third is natural killer cell. Natural killer cells are the most important cells which in innate immunity. Okay, and they circulate throughout the body because they are the main component of the innate immunity, and their function is to engulf or investigate is there any pathogen encounter into body, then they will destroy, okay, by its own. So they detect abnormal assay of protein characteristic of some virus infected or cancerous cell. Okay, they do not engulf stick and cell. They have another way of mechanism by which they encounter the cell. They do not engulf. Okay, they release chemicals that lead to the death of cell and further spread of cancerous cells or virus infected cell. So the third ways by which it can innate immune system can respond, that is antimicrobial peptides and proteins. Whenever the infection takes place, the after microbe invading it trigger the release of various peptides and proteins that attack the pathogens. Okay, interferon and the complement proteins are the unique to vertebrate immune system which present only in a vertebrate organism. Okay, so we'll discuss the interferon nature. Biochemical nature is it is proteinous in nature, and it provide innate defense by interfering the viral infection. Okay, it is secreted by the virus infected cell. If a cell is infected by the virus, then only these cell produce interferon. Okay, interferon provides protection for others neighboring cell. Okay, it help in controlling the viral infections like influenza virus or cold. The only infected cells are not able to produce. There are some WBC, it means the white blood cells, are also able to secrete different types of interferons that help in activation of macrophage for the phagocytosis activities, which activates, it means the only virus infected cells are not present for the production of interferon, but there are also WBCs cells which are able to produce interferon. Okay, then next is complement system. It is a part of innate immune system, and it consists of 30 protein in blood plasma. It means they are moving in our blood plasma that recognize any infectious particle or invading particles. Then they were able to recognize and then initiate the innate immune responses. These proteins circulate in an inactive state. Okay, these activated by substances on the surface of many pathogens. Activation result in a cascade of biochemical reaction that leads to lysis of invading cell, and it response is about like inflammatory responses it exhibit. Okay, these are the all things about the innate immune system in vertebrate. Okay, thank you.